It started like something straight out of a modern-day fairy tale. Two people from completely different worlds, separated by thousands of miles, yet somehow connected by a single screen. On one side, Paul Staehle, an American man searching for love, but carrying a past filled with insecurities, fears, and trust issues. And on the other, Karine, a young woman from Brazil, hopeful, emotional, and dreaming of a better future. Their story began online. Late-night messages, video calls filled with awkward smiles, two strangers trying to turn something virtual into something real. At first, it felt genuine, almost innocent. But even in those early moments, there were signs, subtle, but impossible to ignore. Paul's constant anxiety, his need for reassurance, his fear of betrayal, even before anything had happened. And Karine, sometimes distant, sometimes unsure, as if she wasn't fully convinced about the man on the other side of the screen. Still, they continued. Because sometimes, people don't fall in love with reality. They fall in love with the idea of what something could be. When Paul Staehle finally traveled to meet Karine in person, that's when everything started to feel different. The excitement was there, but so was the tension. Awkward silences, uncomfortable conversations, moments that didn't feel like romance. They felt like pressure. Pressure to make it work. Pressure to prove that this wasn't a mistake. And then came the arguments. Not small disagreements, but intense, emotional clashes that left both of them drained. Trust became a constant issue. Questions turned into accusations. Doubts turned into fights. And yet, despite all of that, they stayed together. Why? Maybe it was love, or maybe it was fear of being alone. Because walking away would mean admitting that everything they built was never real to begin with. When they appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, the world got a front-row seat to their relationship. And what viewers saw wasn't a perfect love story. It was messy, emotional, and at times, deeply uncomfortable. Fans began noticing things. The way Paul reacted under pressure, the way Karine seemed overwhelmed, the constant tension that never really went away. Every episode raised more questions. Was this relationship healthy? Were they truly in love? Or were they just holding on because they didn't know how to let go? But then came the decision that changed everything. They got married, yes, despite the fights, despite the doubts, despite all the warning signs. They chose to say I do. For a brief moment, it felt like a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance to leave all the drama behind. But real life doesn't reset that easily, because marriage doesn't fix problems. It magnifies them. And slowly, everything they tried to ignore started coming back stronger, louder, more destructive than ever before. The arguments didn't stop. They became worse. The trust issues didn't disappear. They grew deeper, and the love they once believed in started to feel like something else, something fragile, something unstable, something that could break at any moment. And the scariest part, they both knew it. But by then, they were already too far in, too emotionally invested, too publicly exposed, too connected to walk away easily. So instead of ending things, they kept going, hoping that somehow things would change. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, some relationships aren't meant to be saved. They're meant to fall apart. And this one was already on the edge, because what was coming next wasn't just drama, it was chaos. At some point, every relationship reaches a line, a moment where things can either be fixed or completely fall apart. For Paul Staehle and Karine Martins, that line didn't just get crossed, it was shattered. What once looked like a troubled love story was now turning into something far more serious, something darker, more complicated, and impossible to ignore. The fights became more frequent, not just emotional arguments, but explosive confrontations filled with anger, frustration, and pain. Voices raised, tears falling, doors closing, and sometimes the silence that followed felt even louder than the chaos itself. Trust? It was gone, completely replaced by suspicion. Every action questioned, every word doubted, every moment turning into a potential conflict. And when trust disappears, what's left? For them, it was tension. Constant, unbearable tension. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé started noticing the shift. This wasn't just reality TV drama anymore. This felt real, too real. Clips circulated online, moments that made viewers uncomfortable, even concerned. People began taking sides. Some believed Paul Staehle was misunderstood, overwhelmed, struggling with his own issues. Others stood firmly with Karine Martins, seeing her as someone trapped in a situation she couldn't control. But behind all the opinions, the truth was becoming harder to hide, because what was happening off camera was even more intense than what viewers saw. Reports began surfacing, serious ones, allegations, accusations, stories that painted a picture far more troubling than anyone expected. And suddenly, this wasn't just a relationship problem anymore. It became a legal situation. Authorities got involved. Statements were made. Situations escalated quickly. And just like that, their private struggles became public headlines. The couple separated, then tried to reconcile, then separated again. It was a cycle. Hope, breakdown, repeat. Each time they tried to fix things, it seemed like they were only delaying the inevitable, because some damage can't be undone. And deep down, they both knew it. Still, walking away isn't easy. Not when emotions are involved. Not when your life is tied to someone else. And definitely not when the whole world is watching. But eventually, there comes a moment where reality hits harder than emotions. For Paul Staehle and Karine Martins, that moment came in a courtroom. No cameras, no dramatic music, no editing, just facts. Cold, clear, and final. Everything they had been through, the fights, the accusations, the failed attempts to fix things, all of it led to this one decision. A judge reviewed the situation, listened, evaluated, and came to a conclusion that honestly, many people had already seen coming. The marriage was declared irretrievably broken. No repairing it, no saving it, no going back, just over. And with that, their marriage officially ended. But here's the thing about endings. They don't always feel like closure. Sometimes, they feel like unfinished business. Because even after the decision, questions remained. What really happened behind closed doors? Who was right? Who was wrong? Or was the truth somewhere in between? For fans, the divorce wasn't the end of the story. It was just another chapter. Because when something this intense, this emotional, this public comes to an end, the impact doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers in memories, in opinions, in everything left unsaid. And for Paul Staehle and Karine Martins, the story was far from over, because what happened after the divorce would keep people talking for a long time. You'd think, after everything they went through, After the fights, the accusations, the courtroom decision that declared their marriage irretrievably broken, that this would be the end of the story. A clean break, a final chapter, two people finally going their separate ways. But with Paul Staehle and Karine Martins, nothing has ever been that simple. Because some relationships don't end when the papers are signed. They linger in memories, in emotions, and sometimes in chaos that refuses to fade away. After the divorce, both of them tried to move forward, or at least, that's what it looked like from the outside. New beginnings, different paths, a chance to rebuild their lives away from each other. But the past? It didn't stay in the past. It followed them everywhere. Social media quickly became the new battlefield. Cryptic posts, emotional messages, moments that felt like they were directed at each other without ever saying names. Fans started watching closely, analyzing everything. A single caption, a short video, even a small change in behavior. Nothing went unnoticed. Because when a story like this becomes public, people don't just watch it, they investigate it. And the questions never stopped. Was the divorce really the right decision? Did one of them try harder than the other? Was there more to the story that no one ever revealed? Some believed Paul Staehle was misunderstood, a man dealing with his own struggles, trying but failing to hold everything together. Others stood by Karine Martins, seeing her as someone who went through more than anyone truly understood. But the truth is, real relationships aren't that simple. There isn't always a clear good or bad person. Sometimes, it's just two people who were never meant to work, trying to force something that kept breaking apart. And when that happens, everyone loses. Even after everything, their names continued to trend among fans of 90 Day Fiancé. Their story became more than just another reality TV storyline. It became a case study of love gone wrong, a reminder that not every relationship can survive pressure, distance, and emotional instability. And maybe the most unsettling part, even today, there are still pieces missing, moments we didn't see, conversations we didn't hear, truths that were never fully revealed, and that uncertainty is what keeps people talking. Because deep down, everyone wants answers. What really happened behind closed doors? How much of what we saw was real? And how much was hidden? And if they could go back, would they make the same choices again? Or would they walk away before everything fell apart? But life doesn't give second chances like that. There's no rewind button, no way to undo the past. Only consequences, only memories, only the reality of what remains after everything is over. And for Paul Staehle and Karine Martins, what remains is a story that refuses to be forgotten, a story filled with love, pain, mistakes, and moments that changed both of their lives forever. So now, the question isn't just about them anymore. It's about something bigger. How do you know when love is real? And when it's just something you're holding on to because you're afraid to let go? How far should someone go to save a relationship before realizing it's already broken? And maybe the most important question of all, when everything falls apart, who do you become after? Because sometimes the end of a relationship is just the beginning of a completely different story. And maybe that's the part we haven't seen yet. Ending hook for retention. So what do you think? Was this relationship ever truly built on love? Or was it always heading toward disaster from the very beginning? Drop your opinion in the comments. Because one thing is certain, this isn't just a story about 90 Day Fiancé. It's a story about reality itself.